Morning, Graham. You've had the international break to do a little bit of work with the players. How's it gone? I know you give some time off, etc. as well.
Yeah, I mean we've really had a good run at this game really. Probably a luxury that you're not used to, that we were able to give the lads and it was only a few days to be fair. They were back in last Thursday, the first team squad. So they were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably more physically, but then we were able to get down to it tactically, even though we touched on it a little bit from Monday onwards, which was been fantastic really.
Perhaps not like the Premier League days in terms of the number of players going away, but Sam Morsey went away with Egypt, Callum Connolly with England and Sean McDonald with Wales. It's great to see lads still representing the countries.
Yeah, I mean we used to be left with 7 and 8 players a few years ago, but it is great that we've still got players of that calibre, linking with the countries. And it hasn't really been a nuisance to us because they've been back early enough to get into what we've been working on. Because that was the feeling with the Villa game, that I think we did enough work to sort of improve the performance, but then it didn't prove to be quite enough,
Mm-hmm. Sam went all the way to Egypt. Will he be okay with the travelling and stuff?
Yeah, he looked great yesterday, to be fair. He's a type of lad who which you like really, just gets on with it. He's never come and said, but he looked great. He was bright. He was up for it. So, and Callum similar. Callum's played a little bit of the games he's been involved in, and probably a bit of to a lad like him, probably a bit of a breath of fresh air for him really. Because whilst he's a lone player, Callum, I think he feels the sort of pressure that's been around this situation, and he looked a lot brighter yesterday.
Obviously, big game, Newcastle. They're probably the biggest in this division in terms of the stature of the club. Do you go there with excitement rather than pressure or nerves?
Yeah, probably if you'd asked me a week ago, I'd probably been quite on edge. But I think the international break has helped me as much as anybody and the staff, because I think we feel that we've done a lot of work, but we feel like we've got into the players a bit more, and I think we're confident of the performance, and hopefully that brings the result that we're looking for. But it should be exciting going here. I mean, when you've been before and you come around the city and the stadium's there, and I think and people are telling me that we've got sold out tickets, which is absolutely fantastic, really.
It is credit to the fans, isn't it? They always back you, wherever, and I suppose huge situation we're in, they're still right behind you.
Yeah, well, it helps me because they clearly haven't given up. So if they haven't given up, then we can't give up, can we? That'll be the message today and tomorrow. They've sold the tickets. The people are spending their lives, at their earnings to come and support the club, and we have to reward them with a performance. So it certainly helps me with the motivation wise, but it's just a big thank you for them for that, because if we go there and there's hardly anybody there from us, it makes it that bit harder. But now there's I can see it now in the where they put them in the corner. We've got a great representation and people to back us. That's the main thing.
Recalling the reverse fixture, Mo Diarmi scored in that game, someone obviously we know, and he's just an example of the calibre of player they have. It is a tough ask, isn't it, going up there? Yeah,
I mean, he's obviously a quality player, but I thought we gave one of our better performances at that night. There's things we have to do tactically, but probably we didn't do it in the Villa game, in terms of we need to be in the game. That would be my message: stay in the game, and we can hopefully turn the tables on them, because they're under probably just as much pressure as us, really, in a different way. And I think their support could become not behind them, but a bit anxious. And we've got to try and turn that situation, and that can reflect on how they play the game. That we could make them quite nervous, but that's got to be down to us, really.
You mentioned the pressure of the game. You've been involved in some real ding-dong battles in Newcastle actually over your time with the club. I look at some of the wins at the DW, and we've got sort of a good history of games against them.
Yeah, they've always been good games. They've always had that, that attacking thing about them since Kevin Keegan probably. Go back to McDonald. They've always had that look about them that is attacking football, Shearer and people like that. So, and in fairness, Benitez has done a good job, and they've got that attacking look about them now, even with people like Shelby. They've got good footballers, but on the day it's up to us.
In terms of our personnel, how's Stephen Warnock? Because it was a bit of a tricky injury for him with the cut on his knee. How's he been over the last?
No, he's fine. Touch wood. I mean, it was it was one of them where it was he didn't quite make the Villa game in so much as obviously where the cut was. Had it been anywhere else on his leg or something, he might have made the game, but just where he bends his knee, it was probably impossible for him to play. But knowing him, it was impossible. So, but hopefully, it's maybe just revitalised him a bit, because he puts a lot into his games and training, Stevie, and so hopefully we reap the benefits now.
The player that come in for him was Andy Kellett. How is Andy?
Unfortunately, it's a bad injury again, which is a real sin, really, because he's such an unlucky player, and there's such a massive player in there, really. But hopefully over the summer we can help him. I think he's just got to toughen himself up, his body, to deal with the football, because if he does that, you get a player who plays a lot of games. You've got a very good player. Disappointment that day is we were probably just about to move him higher up the pitch, where I think that is where he really could be effective,
And just on other personnel, you had a good group to work with over the last week or so. You've got a good pool of players to select from for Saturday.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the Will Grigg injury probably hit us more than anything. I mean, I have to say about Omar, it's almost a bit unfair on what we're asking of him, and I'll probably speak to him this morning about it. That I think he's taken the whole weight onto his shoulders. I want him to be the player that first came into the club where it was just a challenge and just get on with it and play. But I think now he thinks he has to be the man who scores the goals to keep us up. But that won't happen if he thinks about it too much. I think he's got to just get back to being that player that came into the club that just wanted to show everybody. I can't fault him for effort, but I think I can tell that it's just he's sort of thinking about things now, where when he first came he was just doing things automatic. So I'm just trying to take the pressure off him a little bit this morning. He has to play, and it's a big ask, but I think he's capable of helping us get out of trouble.